What is up, guys and girls? Hurricane Liz here, and in this video I'm going to talk about how, yes, it happened to me. What can I say? Other than I really wanted to share this with you guys, but I did have COVID. So let's talk about it in more detail. Let's talk about what happened. Let's talk about how it affected me, how I found out, how I had no idea, and how until recently I still kind of feel like I might be suffering some effects. And we'll see what kind of impact it has on my work life as well, which is obviously the most important thing to me as an entrepreneur, because I do work for myself and I have no other way to pay for things and other than me getting out there and hustling. So without further ado, I'm not that fired up about the whole thing, but I'm still fired up about this video. My cat certainly is probably fired up because I've been at home a lot. But other than that, let's go and do this. All right, guys and girls, so the news is out. I just wanted to share this with you because a lot of people have been saying, like, Liz, you know, we usually are used to you pumping out as many possible videos as you can. And you do have a lot to talk about regarding your entrepreneurial journey. And while that is correct, you guys will have noticed a slight decline in the amount of video and content that I do produce, as well as not really a lot of energy in producing it. And that's for a very specific reason, and that's the fact that I had COVID. Now, truth be told, I don't really know the exact date that I was affected, but as I look back and I think back to what happened during the month of December, I kind of can start putting things together. Now, lucky for me, I will talk about the effect that it did have on me overall from a health perspective, but let's first talk about when I actually noticed that something was a little off. And that's on or around mid-December. And on around mid-December, I was regularly attending classes at Orange Theory, and just one day, for some reason, I didn't feel good after the workout, and I felt really fatigued. I felt really tired. I felt like I needed to take a nap after the workout, and I felt like my entire body just hurt. And that night, I can remember going to sleep and having a little bit of sweats and just not feeling that well overall, but still no fever, no nothing like that. So I decided to take a break from working out. So I took a break from working out. I thought, oh, maybe I'm coming down with something. And a few days later, I felt some congestion. And so as a result of that, I decided to see the doctor, and I saw the doctor. I let him know all my symptoms. I told him what was going on. And pretty much all he said is, like, I felt like I had a sinus infection. And he said, you don't have anything. You are 100% fine. Take some NyQuil. And then in a few days, if it doesn't clear up, just let me know if it worsens, or if it doesn't, you're good. There's no sinus infection. There's no sense in putting you on antibiotics. I could give you a steroid, but there's no sense. So I listened to him. And the other thing that I kind of pegged it for is I had a chiropractic adjustment on that same day. And, you know, when I usually have a chiropractic adjustment, I get a headache and all sorts of shit drains. And then I just don't feel 100%. I can usually catch a sinus infection or cold shortly thereafter. But now looking back at the whole thing, I can clearly remember that on or around December 3rd, I began to get just tired after every workout. And I absolutely had to take a nap of at least 2 hours after every hour workout. And so I was just feeling overall fatigued. And somewhere around the middle of December is when I started to see additional symptoms like the congestion and a headache. So I had a headache and I had some tiredness in my body. So I stopped doing everything. And then just one day, one of my friends called me up and said, hey, I have a fever. And so he went and he got tested, and sure enough, he was positive. And on around the 22nd of December is when I decided to go take a test. And sure enough, that test, I was positive for COVID. And I can recall now looking back, there was one day where in the early December that I was just absolutely exhausted. And I thought I was just doing too much, doing too many things. And I slept 18 straight hours. And never did it occur to me that I had something, because it wasn't really as people have described, or I've seen the media describe it. I was just overall tired. I'd been doing too much, and I felt some exhaustion, which I've felt in the past, and I've usually pushed myself to the limit. So it happens quite often for me. But I did notice that throughout my day, I constantly wanted to fall asleep during the day. And for some reason at night, I was just a total insomniac. I would get between 4 and 6 hours of sleep. I couldn't sleep any more than that. So it was really completely weird and strange. And while you guys saw me pretty normal, I don't know if you've noticed, but in some of my videos over the past course of the month, I have sounded very congested. I've sounded a little different. However, I still managed to pump out at least 5 videos to put on YouTube a month, but I did little to nothing else because, to be quite honest, I didn't have the energy, and I have made the commitment to you to do YouTube no matter what. So I just kept going, which, as I said before, I was surprised at the very little amount of symptoms that I did have. I do have a couple other friends that did report that they were also positive, and they lost their taste, they lost their smell for an extended period of time. And as a result of all this happening, I actually couldn't even go visit my sister for Christmas. So I had to stay at home alone during the entire Christmas holiday. And finally, when I got the thumbs up to be able to go back out, obviously I was happy because of the very limited amount of symptoms and the fact that I really wasn't as bad as anyone else or anyone else that I'd known that had described what was going on with them, because I had several friends that had it and were stuck in bed for days and days. So now the reason I'm sharing this with you guys is because, as I said before, there have been some after effects. Obviously, once I got back the approval to go back to the gym and all that good stuff, I'm obviously not the same as I was before. I'm not 100%. And still to this day, I often feel fatigued and like I need to sleep extra. And there are still times where I have insomnia as a result. And it could just be in general because of the fact that I had to take almost an entire additional month off in the year 2020. Reality is that I only worked about 6 months of the whole year, which is kind of really bad when you're an entrepreneur and you have to pay your own shit, right? And you got to take care of yourself. So as a result, obviously it's brought up a little bit of stress, and sometimes the more money you make, the more problems you have. And as a result, I just want to let you guys know what's going on with me and why I haven't pumped out as much content as I usually do. Now, I will say this much, it did teach me a lot about gratitude and feeling very lucky for the fact that I did have it and it was very minimal symptoms, and now I'm almost back to 100%. I would say I'm almost at 80%. Now, the one thing that was kind of crazy, which again, this could be the fat kid in me, but I was eating like a crazy lunatic. Like I just wanted to eat everything in sight. Luckily, you know, I did put on a couple pounds, but it was primarily because I was eating good food that is not good for you after a certain point. It wasn't like I was eating pizza or burgers or anything of that nature, even though I did have cravings for that, but I was eating really good solid food, just too much of it. Now, here's an interesting thing. After I found out that I did have it and I'd hung out with several people, I did notify them of what had happened, and they took tests and they were negative. So that was kind of interesting. And that's why I feel that in the month of December, I had it early on or around the 3rd, when I started to realize that I was sleeping a lot after workouts. So finally, the last thing that I wanted to talk about is what it taught me as a person, other than gratitude and just realizing that we all have a very limited amount of time on this earth. So we might as well be doing something that we love, something that we enjoy, and something that is making our life more enjoyable and ourselves more healthy. So biggest lesson it taught me is take better care of yourself. And there are people out there that do need serious help with this. It's not a laughing matter. It's pretty serious. I was out an entire month and just didn't have my head. My head was up in the clouds. My head was up in my ass. My head was really not in any space to have to do anything. So I know there's a lot of people as a result of this have needed financial help as well as mental help. And I really feel that it is well deserved, and you can't understand what it is until you experience it. And as I said before, I'm very lucky that everything was very minimal. So my heart goes out to everybody like that. And I just want you guys to be very careful and be very aware that you can never tell if somebody out there does have it, because as I was pretty much walking the earth asymptomatic pretty much to a certain extent, I had no idea that I had this because the doctor said I was fine. The doctor said it was just allergies, and truth be told, and well, as you just learned, it wasn't. Now, any questions or comments, I'm always happy to answer those. And once again, I'm super sorry for the amount of content that I've been able to pump out as a result, as I still feel like I am recovering from the overall effects. So as usual, questions and comments go below. I always personally answer those, and I'm feeling back to being 100%. So hopefully you see that in the energy that I bring on all these videos. So thanks so much, guys. Just wanted to give you a quick update on my life. And I look forward to 2021. I've got a couple videos that are out late, like the 2020 income report and what my goals are in 2021. So I will be bringing those out as soon as I can and as soon as I can catch up on everything. So take care and get out there and just do it.